Ed, just something that I realized. The thugs, Ed, they have a storyline for every type of person, and they impose this storyline on that type of person. And what they do, Ed, is that they take humans, and some people, Ed, online, they call it destiny snatching or destiny swapping or destiny stealing. And I never really understood, Ed, what they mean by this, because you can't steal somebody's destiny. Not really. But now I'm understanding, Ed, just looking back at my own life and looking at other humans that I've come across and know of, like you. So, Ed, it's like this. They simulate a destiny swap. They do. And I've seen this so many times, Ed, but I didn't realize what I was looking at until now. So what they do, Ed, is they take a human baby, and either they put the human baby in a false family. And by false, Ed, I mean that most of the time they be very careful to make it that the father, the mother, the siblings, they all look alike. And this is very easy, Ed. I'll tell you how I know this. Because many times, Ed, I have found in literally my water and my food, I have found something, and when I question my own inner knowing, my spirit said that there is RNA in this. And RNA is a kind of DNA. But what I found it doing to me, Ed, is that it was bringing in, it was like giving me the DNA, Ed, directly of entities who are not related to me. Just completely different entities. But what would happen, Ed, is that for a while, 2 or 3 days, 4 days, that's as long as it lasted with me, in my knowledge. But it can, Ed, in childhood, it can go on, I feel in childhood it can go on longer, because children are not individualistic yet, and they just, go with the flow. But this RNA, Ed, this RNA kind of makes the person who's carrying it actually start having the mannerisms, and it's the energy pattern, basically, Ed, of whoever they've got that RNA from. And Ed, I recorded this back in 2008 or 2009, that when I was very ill, and always, Ed, this seems to come with a stomach upset, because our bodies react to this RNA DNA thing. There's a stomach upset, Ed, and on recovery we find ourselves a little sluggish, a little bit, like we're energy drained, like we're very heavy and dragging ourselves around, sort of thing. And actually we're under RNA attack. We don't know it, but we've been given a DNA that's not ours, and we're dealing with it. We're as an adult, Ed, we've got our core purposes in life going, so we're not going to get thwarted. So as an adult, for the most part, what it does, Ed, is it gives us a kind of veneer, Ed, on our surface, in which we look like somebody who we're not even related to. I'm telling you, Ed, I have witnessed this in myself, in Gabriel, and in so many people. This RNA makes us look different. We look at, like, if we sit next to that person, completely unrelated person, it will look at like we're related. Because actually, at the human genome that's right now on the earth, it's not at all varied. It's just some, I would say, Ed, basically there are about 12 patriarchal bloodlines, and there are maybe, I would say that there are maybe 3 or 4 matrilineal lines. That's it, 3 or 4. And the main one is my matrilineal line, and it is all over the world and all through the entire world. That's why, Ed, I'm being held for ritual torture, because every single line on earth in the known world, Ed, is come from my matrilineal DNA. So I can look like anybody's mother, sister, daughter, with a little bit of with a little bit of touch up and modification, you know, with a little bit, I can look like anyone. So that's just how it is. I'm telling you the truth that as it is. This is what I have found out, that after decades of watching and observing and being at the center of all of this. So I'm telling you that this RNA thing makes the sign of it, Ed, is the horrific sluggishness, Ed, sluggishness that all of a sudden a human experiences after eating something. And Ed, it is not all the time targeted, not all the time. Sometimes people put it in their in the food they're selling in restaurants, because for ritual reasons or whatever, if they want to kind of telecast something. It's a demonic thing, it's black magic, and sometimes it's that, but a lot of the time, Ed, it's actually slipped into the food and water. And you know it, Ed, because it itself, Ed, causes energy drain, because now you have to deal with this invasion. And Ed, the other thing, Ed, is the carrier, Ed, whatever chemical that they use to carry this, it wipes out gut DNA. Because, Ed, all the pharma chemicals do that. You take an antibiotic, Ed, and they'll tell you have to take prebiotic and what do you call it? Postbiotic, prebiotic, probiotic and prebiotic. They'll tell you have to take those because this antibiotic is going to wipe your gut bacteria out. So, Ed, the carrier of this RNA also does that. So if you're a person who doesn't take pharma, then you'll notice that all of a sudden your gut bacteria is wiped out, and you'll be like, what the hell what could I possibly have eaten to cause that wipeout? So that's how it is. And Ed, here's the deal. So they can fake, Ed, anybody temporarily and long term. If they keep giving it to you, they can actually make a person look and feel and behave on the surface, not spiritually, but on the surface. They can make that person look like that family. And I'm telling you, and I guarantee you, I'm saying it to you in the presence of God, I have studied this and watched this so much, Ed, so much, because I could never, Ed, believe that I was part of the family that I was put in. I knew I was not from the time I was little, but I would be like, how come I look like them? Why do I have characteristics? Then I even began to make mental records as a very small child of particular dinners, particular types of food, my feelings after that, sleeping for 12 hours after some particular meal, and then when I wake up feeling different. And when you're a child, these you can be unconscious, but if you become conscious as a child, then you have such a world of information right in front of you, because as a child you're not yet programmed. So I was in that position, Ed, because Ed, a lot of people didn't interact with me. I was in a fake family, and I was not, people weren't speaking to me all the time or engaging with me. I was left in the garden most of the time with the dog. So I had a lot of time, Ed, for all of this. And that's how I know this. Now here's the deal, Ed, and this is what this destiny swapping thing is all about. What they do, Ed, and they don't do it just one time to a human, but they do it many times in a human's life. What they do, Ed, is they take our DNA, our RNA, blood, whatever, and they give it to others. And then they take others' DNA and RNA and give it to us. And what happens is that other person starts behaving with our energy patterns, hormones, and so on and so forth. And they then get supported artificially to do exactly the kind of things that we wanted to do. While in the meanwhile, what we wanted to do, we are thwarted from that and sabotaged, so we cannot go in that line. And then we are made to do the things that they telecast as the storyline for someone of the type that they have decided that we will play. They have decided that we will play this destiny, and that entity will play our destiny. And what they do, Ed, is, I'll give you an example. They will take, let's say, 15 or 16-year-old young man or young woman, and they will drain, they will take something of our DNA, and they will give it to someone very close to us, brother, sister, friend, Ed, and then that person will start behaving like they are us, because they would be taking on our energy patterns. You know what I mean? So they'll start having the same reactions as us, mannerisms and that sort of thing. And then the thugs will support them in doing that thing that we feel called to. Let's say somebody wants to photography or make movies. They'll make that person do all of that and progress in that field consistently. And meanwhile, what they'll do, the person from which they took the DNA, they will sabotage that person, make them suddenly fall ill, or seduce them into a relationship and use all the hormones and all the tricks to make this person go crazy in love and whatever, and then suddenly end the relationship. Either kill the woman or the man in an accident, or just do something so traumatic and horrible and painful, and what will happen, Ed, is that will sabotage the person from being able to study, or from being able, Ed, there are some particular days of our lives in this system when we have to go do the exams, or something like that. And even if it's not like that, Ed, they can just, for example, if you're a creative person and you have a tragedy, you're not going to be able to create, Ed. You're not even going to be able to complete the project that you started before, because every creative project is started in a consciousness. And if you break that consciousness before the completion of that project, then you cannot finish that project, because now you're in a completely different state and a different place. You can create from there. But what they do, Ed, is they never allow a creative person to reach the completion of the project in the same consciousness. What they do is they break the flow, and then they take the RNA and the DNA and they give it to somebody else, that person with who we are supposed to be swapping destiny with. And they give it to them. And then they will give them a sudden project. Suddenly they'll be approached by, let's say, a buyer for their art, whatever, a publisher for their books, or a club that wants to sponsor them in sports. I have seen this so many times, Ed. And Ed, this kind of information is actually very widespread among people. People know about it and people talk about it. I'm telling it to you now, Ed, because today is the first day that I can see it so clearly. Now I can see it so clearly, Ed, because of certain incidents that have happened recently. This, Ed, is what they call destiny swapping. And it is not actual destiny swapping. It is simulation of destiny swapping. And the aim of it is to make the human whose destiny has seemingly been stolen, the aim of it, Ed, is to make them feel that their destiny has been stolen, because that is the killer trauma. That is the thing that cripples a human, when they feel that, the stuff that I wanted, that passion that I had, that energy of that passion, that is that thing in me, the jing in me is gone. That is what cripples a person. And the deal is this, Ed, that nobody can steal that. And every time, Ed, that the thugs sabotage a human, it is nothing but for the human's good, Ed, because God uses them, Ed, to set us on the right track. They're the ones, Ed, who tell us you should do this, you should do that. And then we go to do it, and then they sabotage it. Like, what did we really lose, Ed? We discovered that some bitches and bastards supposed to be our friends, brothers, cousins, whatever. We discovered that they're actually They're actually destiny stealers. That's what they are. And Ed, those kind of people, they're not even really creative and they need full-time support. And now here's the most thrilling part of this all. Till 1994, Ed, this whole shit was working really well. And after 1994, they became unable, Ed, to transfer human energy. Now listen, Ed, there's one thing where you transfer an energy pattern and there's one thing where you transfer energy, right? The energy pattern, Ed, it's like the lampshade design. It's like a lampshade, okay? But for you to see the patterns on that lampshade, you need to light up the light behind it. Now, they can transfer the lampshade, but they are not able to transfer the light. So 1994 onwards, I saw the light dimming. Some incident has happened there with, maybe it's from the sky, human consciousness, or I don't know what it is, but it was 1994. And the light began to shrink, and it shrank. It shrank so bad, Ed, so bad, that they were panicking, and they have been panicking, Ed, all along. And since Ed, about maybe 1998 onwards, they've been more and more dependent on blood and extremely potent blood, because that gives the heat as a sort of a what do you call it, imitation heat, Ed. For example, Ed, if you have chicken, the body will heat up, but it's not vital energy heating up. It's a kind of artificial heating up. It helps a lot of people feel like all warmed up and everything, but it's not real heat. You know, after the chicken gets digested, you'll have to have more chicken. Or it's like coffee, Ed. Fine, nature has a lot of stuff, but it is not actually of the body. Coffee does not increase anybody's vital energy. It doesn't actually energize anybody. It just makes the body, Ed, move energy around. It's basically something like a rev up of the circulation, and you can take rose hips tea as well for that sort of thing. So it's circulation boosting. So, but it's all artificial. So the thing about the very potent blood, Ed, is that it can give that artificial energy boost. So that's what they started doing. And let me tell you, at coming down to 2013, 14, 15, 16 and to now, Ed, 2019 was the day. I remember I was in the bathroom and I was having a bath, and I was watching the water go down from my body onto the floor of the bathroom. And usually, Ed, all these years and decades, I would see the energy in the water going down. And I remember in May 2019, I saw the water, but when it was leaving me, it didn't have my energy. So I was looking down, I was watching the water go on the floor towards the drain hole, and it didn't have my energy in it. And it really scared me, Ed. And I remember I went out. This was May 2019, Ed, and there was a general election, I remember. And Ed, I went out and I went walking on this path where there was a line of trees, flame of the forest trees, and the flowers had fallen down. Ed. Please, Gabu. So the flowers were fallen down, Ed, and what was so amazing and crazy, Ed, was that the flowers that were on the ground did not have the energy as the flowers that were on the tree. You know what I mean? The energy was not transferring to what was fallen. And the reason, Ed, like this was happening is because the land field was separating from the actual asphalt and concrete and tar on the road. The substance, Ed, like what was living, and when the life was leaving it, there was no residual energy. Residual energy, Ed, is what I'm talking about. Now, the whole of black magic and the whole of thug world depends on residual energy. It depends on if something is taken from my body, that will contain the energy which it was holding at the time of removal from my body. But what is happening now, and which I've seen since May 2019, is that stuff that is removed from a living body is no longer carrying the energy of, that it was carrying when it was physically in contact with that body. Now, Ed, I don't know how others might interpret it. I'm telling you my interpretation of it, Ed. How I'm telling you what I witnessed, and what I've seen it since then is, you look on the television and you look at everything. They have the imitation, they have the energy pattern, but they do not have the glow and the light. The light is not transferring. They have the lampshade, but they don't have the light, and that's how it is. And this is a wonderful thing, Ed, because of this, Ed, a lot of human beings are now saying that you're not human. You look like it, you sound like it, you speak, you think, you walk, but you're not human. There's something missing. The soul, Ed, is not hanging on to what is removed from contact with the body. That's what has happened. It's just that time, Ed. That time has come. In millennia, maybe, I don't know, but that time has come. And Ed, they know it, Ed, the thugs know it, and that's why they're trying to finish off their population, because they are a zombie population. All those movies about zombies and everything, they were preparing us. Their plan, Ed, is to tell us that it's a disease and a pandemic. Started in China. China did it. That's their plan to say. And now they might say India did it or whatever. So that's their plan, Ed, to pass it off as a disease. For example, Ed, Alzheimer's, Ed, is basically when clones forget. They lose the memory, Ed, that they are artificially given, and so they can't recognize who's who to them anymore. They've named it Alzheimer's, Ed, and made movies out of it. It's actually the clone has lost the ability to tap into the clone memory cloud. So they're planning it to make these big diseases and say it's all it's a disease that's spread by dog bites. At all the zombie movie stories, Brad Pitt in Israel with a helicopter, and that Will Smith one in which his gorgeous Gabriel had something to say about zombies. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, Ed. So they have all these zombie stuff going on. So that's what it's about, Ed. They'd be trying to pass off, Ed. Because without the light, Ed, how long you're going to be able to transfer the patterns? And all the entities around you, Ed, for example, carrying my patterns, they're not behaving, Ed, as they're not doing it, they're not acting as well as they did 15 or 10 years ago even, or even 5 years ago. The quality has dropped very bad. Yeah. So that's just what I want to say, that this is destiny swapping, and it's actually simulation that's aimed at making us believe that someone has stolen our destiny. When the fact is that the 99% of the stuff they made us think we lost, we never really even wanted it. Because what we wanted, how do they even know at any given time? How do they even know, Ed, what we want? And what we truly want, Ed, are we going to get? That's simple. This is still God's world. It'll never be anything else, Ed. But, as evil as things can get or whatever, the thugs have displayed their stupidity, and ultimately all of their dramas are based on the universe behaving tomorrow as it did yesterday. Somebody said this to me, Ed. They said the evil ones of this earth, they demonstrate great faith in the universe, greater than we humans perhaps, because they unfailingly believe that the universe will behave tomorrow like it behaved yesterday and like it's behaving today. But we humans, we know that how we change, that the universe changes. So that's it. The universe has changed now. That's simple. It's changed, and here we are. And no one can ever steal our destiny. That's what I wanted to say, Ed.